Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Boundless World Builder bite-sized series. In this episode we're going to talk about decorations. Right now I have the bamboo forest biome open. You can see that it's attached here, this biome node. And then the surface has this decorations node that turns into a join decoration where it combines a riverbed with standard decorations. Before we get into much more of this, I want to talk about this join decoration box here. What the devs have done with this is, and I've got my own up here, they've taken this random decorations and somehow removed the seed from it, and then they've added their own decorations here, or hit this plus decoration button. So you can take your random decorations, add as many as you want, it will increase the count, and then I believe to get rid of the seed, you just delete it and hit enter. And you could rename this, join decoration if you want, but this is how you can get multiple decorations with their own weights to play around with. At that point, you would then hit the new custom decorations, and it gives you this standard decorations box, which we'll look at in more detail back on the bamboo forest page. So the standard decorations comes with two things. There's a floor and a ceiling. The floor is going to be the floor for pretty much everything from oceans to plains to mountains to whatever you can think of, whereas I believe the ceiling is only really going to be used in caves. I cannot confirm that though. Floors, you'll notice, have a couple of different place types. So there's the place type for different natural blocks, and then there are constraint types. The place type here will only show up if you don't have an instance attached. So all of these decorations have a place for you to attach your instances or your prefabs, or you can get this place type. So if I go down to where basic tree is attached, there is no place type, but there is a constraint type below. So what's the difference between the two, and why is it important? The place type is how you can spawn natural blocks like flowers. It's not really useful for like mud or rocks or other things. It's really just for one-offs, so you don't even want to use it for like rock, outcroppings or anything. It's really just mainly for flowers or single blocks of gleam or dark glass or whatever you want. Let's go ahead and jump in just real quick to kind of see what this looks like. I'm going to load this in the green actual server visualization at first, but for future examples, I'm just going to use the blue one to save time. So we're loading in here into our bamboo forest, and you'll notice that we've got our flowers. So there's a flower there, there's a flower there. If I go back to the World Builder program, you'll notice that in the bamboo forest, under those flower types, there are constraint types. The constraint type is what your place type, or if you're using an instance, what your instance can spawn on. If you don't have constraint types, for example, if I delete these, which I will do here real quick, and we go into our blue visualization, it will load with no flowers. It will load all of the forest, but there are no flower dots anywhere to be found on the grasslands here. I have a couple of tests here to kind of look at this more in depth. So going into test 1, in this instance I kept the density the same. We'll talk about density in the future tests, but I changed out one flower for growth and one for ancient corruption just so you can see them a little more in detail. So we'll go ahead and load the chunks for this one. And you'll notice that the world is kind of littered with ancient corruptions, which are these small red blocks, and then growth, which is these small black blocks. However, our forest is still kind of there. It looks like not much has changed. We've just got these individual blocks laying around now. If I go into test 2, in this instance I changed the growth density to 0 and the ancient corruption density to 0.68 instead of what it was before of negative 0.68. Go ahead and load up the chunks for this test. And there are many more blocks here. And our forest has kind of been affected. It's not nearly as thick as it was before. And there's just tons of these blocks everywhere. Again, the red being ancient corruption and the black being growth. So finally, we'll go into test 3. I believe I still have this set up. I do, okay. So I've kept the growth density low, so it's not to 0 anymore, and the ancient corruption is all the way up at 1.0. And we'll load this up. And the forest has loaded, but that's because I did something bad that I'll talk about in a minute. But there's way more of the red blocks than the black blocks here. So if I go back into Bamboo Test 3, I was trying to mess around with the depth and clearance, just kind of see what those did. And I think the clearance is what made what I expected to happen not happen just now. So I'm going to change that and we'll reload maybe. So it was at 8, I just reset it to 8 for that clearance. And nope, it's still working, so it must have been the depth. I'll go back and change that. What happened to me in one of my tests before making this video was that the forest didn't even spawn because there was just so much ancient corruption that literally there were just no trees in the world. It was just pure ancient corruption and some growth here and there. And we'll give this a second. Okay, this is done. So yeah, that's what happened here. Without changing those depth and whatever the other field was, clearance, with a 1.0 density, it's just a world of ancient corruption with some growth splattered in there. In future videos, we'll look at attaching instance nodes at the noise and at adding multiples. But for right now, this video really just wanted to talk about place types, constraint types, and kind of starting to play with those with your decoration nodes, which are again attached to biome nodes. Thanks for watching.